He says, are we finally ready to switch from a Derrick Henry-led offense to a Will Levis-led offense? And I think the answer is yes. I think that this was a really important game. This is a game that I think is likely to be one that we look back on in the next couple months, years, JT, as an inflection point of some sort in Will Levis's career, an inflection point in the history of the Tennessee Titans. So let's talk about Levis and what he did last night. He made some mistakes, especially early. This was not a perfect game for him. It was a very, very good game for him, and he did some great things that we're going to discuss. But I want to be as fair and balanced today as possible, and we need to start by talking about the mistakes that he made, especially early on in this game. So we can start from the top. That pick six on his second possession of the game at the goal line is about as ugly as it gets, right? That's one that he's staring down the guy that if the lineman he either wasn't rushing or wasn't rushing effectively. I need to go back and watch some more of the tape. Watch the tape for the first time. I don't know if it's out yet, but I haven't got a chance to look at it. That he was staring him down. Where he was throwing to was Spears leaking out, who, like, even if that defender hadn't been there, Spears wasn't going to catch that ball. It was weird. It was a weird decision. It was a bad decision, and it was compounded by Levis in the end zone trying to lay a shoulder on the guy already like 5 feet into the end zone. This is a lineman or defensive lineman who's like just cracks your shoulder. That's a dumb thing. Don't do that. There was a couple other instances where Will Levis didn't protect himself very well in this game, and we'll discuss that in the losers portion of today's topics. But that wasn't great. But he came right back swinging, and that's what's most important here, JT. He came back. The very next throw of the game that he made, once they got the ball back, was that gorgeous anticipation. Let me start that over. He came right back swinging with a pass that was that beautiful anticipation pass across the middle into a very tight window to Chig, who caught it, by the way. Ups for Chig. We're going to talk about him as a winner today because he absolutely was a winner in this game. And Sneaky has put together 3 or 4 really nice games in a row. A redemption arc for our favorite tight end on this show. But then the final 4-ish minutes of the game, that's where Will Levis really shined. That's what we need to talk about. In the final 4:34 of regulation of this game, Will Levis put up the following stats. He went 9 for 11 for 152 yards, led 2 touchdown drives, included one that he threw, and then he threw and completed a 2-point conversion. Let the man cook. That'll work. That'll do. We can work with that. Here's my ultimate takeaway from this game. And I saw a couple of different people say this in different ways. The person who I saw put it the best, and this is kind of a reflection of a take I saw from him, but it's a popular and true one. Our buddy Mike Herndon, friend of the show, he said something along these lines as well as others. Will Levis has already shown us multiple examples in his 7-8 games that he started this year for the Titans. He's shown us multiple examples already of every single tool you can possibly ask for in a quarterback. We have seen not just flashes, but multiple flashes. Like you hear somebody say once is an instance, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a pattern. We're in the pattern territory for a lot of these things. But if you just go down any scout's checklist for traits, for tools you want to see a quarterback possess, the things you want to see him have in his bag. Okay, accuracy, check. Velocity, check. Touch, check. Arm angles, yep. Escapability, there. Playmaking ability, there. Leadership, absolutely. Poise, yep. Toughness, yes. Strength, absolutely. Quickness, yes. Size, big fella. It is purely, at this point, a matter of refining and polishing those traits. They're all there. The Titans went mining for diamonds, right? They went looking for their gem. And I am ready to officially say that they have found a big one. Now they just have to clean it and polish it and wipe that mud off of it, take it back to the shop, and they've got to get a pretty cut on it. They've got to refine that thing. This is a diamond, but it is in the rough. It has to be refined, and that's the next step for them. And that's exciting and a fun thing that we're going to get to watch this Titans team try to do. So far, so good. Robert Griffin III on Twitter, you pulled this, JT, an interesting stat. Will Levis, he calls him an incredible Hulk coming back from down 27-13. who then started creating outside the pocket with underhand pitches and throwing darts downfield to D-Hop and Westbrook Akine. Here's the stat, right? Only Brock Purdy, CJ Stroud, and Dak Prescott, three guys that have had pretty good years, I'd say. They are the only three quarterbacks in the league who have more explosive plays this season than Will Levis since he became the starter. So since week 7 or 8 or whenever it was. He has thrown in his here it is. I have it written down. 7 games. He started now for the Tennessee Titans. He's thrown 1,593 yards, 8 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions in those 7 games, which projects to a season total of just shy of 3,900 yards, 19 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions as a rookie in a full season. That is having one heck of a rookie year if he were to have done that throughout the season, especially considering his wide receiver situation and his offensive line situation. That'll do. We can work with that. The offensive line, one more thought on Levis before we talk about what you had to say from this game, JT, and what the folks in the comments have to say. The offensive line in this game, they weren't necessarily the reason Levis played well. In fact, you could say he played well despite them. They gave up pressure a ton per PFF charting in that game. Levis saw pressures on 46.3% of his dropbacks, nearly half of them. But he managed to avoid the sacks and averaged a ridiculous 10.5 yards per attempt when pressured, which is insanely good. For frame of reference for folks that may not know, a 50% pressure rate, which is roughly what the Titans allowed here, that's generally considered completely untenable. Can't work with it. The engine won't start. It's a non-starter in a game. It's the kind of number that post-game analysts rightly point to and say, you can't make a fair evaluation of the passer under these circumstances. I mean, it's untenable. You can't do it. And yet it didn't matter for Levis in that game last night. He threw for 327 yards. He was his best in the game when they needed him to be the best at the end of the game. A brilliant performance. Brilliant. JT, what do you have to say about this? What do the folks in the comments have to say about this performance from Will Levis?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, this game checked the box and more so of what I wanted to see from Will Levis this week, to an extent even that I didn't think possible, which was, okay, because I think we both assumed that one way or another, this Titans team was going to have to throw the ball a lot in this game.
Sure.
This one way or the other, this Miami Dolphins team was going to get up big on you, and it happened. It wasn't pretty, but they eventually did get up on this Titans team late in the fourth quarter. Okay, let's see Will Levis stick with it, and Tim Kelly trust Will Levis to keep throwing the ball downfield and just let him sling it. And that's exactly what we saw from him last night. And so in these situations, like, this is what I wanted to see from Will Levis. Him be put in these situations down by a lot of points and just be able to just go out there and do what he does best with his big arm and throw the ball downfield. And I have to give hats off to DeAndre Hopkins for having an incredible performance. But even so, Nick Westbrook-Akine, like I jokingly put out a tweet last night that says, on the one where NWI almost makes that catch in the end zone there, I tweeted out saying, so close for the wide receiver 2 of the Titans, NWI. And that was trying to say jokingly, but it really happened last night.
It's also just true.
That Nick Westbrook-Akine was very good last night. Trevor in the comments here also pointing out that Tyjae Spears was coming alive in the passing game and had a huge night last night. Will Levis being able to rely on Tyjae Spears in the passing game within that 2-minute drill, I thought that was also just brilliant by him. And yeah, there was a lot of things that I liked about this game from Will Levis and from Tim Kelly, especially in that 2-minute drill. Honestly, very night and day when you consider that the Titans in the first half during the 2-minute drill run 3 rushes up the middle and then punt the ball away. And then somehow come back within the 2 minutes left in the game and have just a totally different offense. I think that was one of the most head-scratching moments for me and why this game was so jarring. But in the end, like, Will Levis, he's got it, man.